Welcome back to Market on Close. It's time now for Options Corner. We're joined by Kevin Green, Senior Markets Correspondent. Hi there, Kevin. Hope you're having a good afternoon. What levels are you watching on the S&P 500 heading into the close today?
Yeah, obviously we're going to be focusing on several different levels. This is the first time we've seen some action in the market here over the last 4 or 5 trading sessions here. So we did see some selling pressure coming in to today, and we might see that going into the close here. Who knows? If we actually look at the longer time frame, the daily chart, the 6-month daily chart here, what we are seeing is potentially coming back and retesting that 20-day moving average, which is sitting at around 63.78 right now. First, you need to have this as a failure if you are a bear in this market and you think the market's going to really go down here from here. This is going to be your first area of support, and if we do break that, we still have some areas of confluence where we could see some buyers really trying to step in. So even though we have a red day, at least for today, if you look at the internals, it's not as bad as what the number really does seem on the screen, especially if you're looking at the S&P 500. Now, the only other thing to be concerned about on the daily chart here is that RSI. Are we starting to make lower highs? That's going to be the big question over the next week or so. If we start making lower lows, that's where we could actually start seeing the market really fundamentally break down, and that kind of aligns with the trend that we will see and potentially see in September, which is generally a weak month. But kind of going into the close here, the key areas for us to be able to hold is the 6,400 level. We've actually been testing that several different times here over the last, let's say, 30 minutes or so, and it seems like we are now trying to break a trend or a downtrend if we go to that volume chart here, and that was actually a really decent sign for us to be able to do so here. This morning we kind of talked about the 6440 level as an area of support. We were making lower lows, and we saw that flush to the downside here. We are seeing a consolidation and hopefully a little bit of a breakout to the upside with that bullish engulfing candle that we have on the 15 as well as on the 5-minute here, coinciding with a break of this downward trend line here. So I would say the first level to really kind of focus on just from a technical standpoint is 6415, and then you're starting to look at 6430, which from an option standpoint, when you're looking at volumes, is actually going to be a critical area. And that 6440, which was an area of support to start off the morning, now could potentially turn into an area of resistance. So looking between 6430, 6440 would be ideal for the bulls here to try to reclaim some of the losses in the market. Any failure below 6400 aggressively, let's say 6395 or so to the downside, you get a little bit more concerned that tomorrow we could see some follow through, just given the fact that we have the mega cap tech stocks selling off today as well as the AI stocks. So once again, very tough day, but we have seen some recovery going into the close before. Those that were short in the market throughout the day, potentially buying back their shares, buying back their contracts, if you will, and that could also kind of create a little bit of a retracement to the upside here. That's the hope for right now, even though the selling pressure, once again, on the broader base standpoint from the mega cap names seems to be pretty heavy, at least for today.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So those are the levels you're watching on the S&P 500 with about 25 minutes to go. Obviously, Palantir dropping 9%, making it one of the worst performers there. I'm just wondering what else stands out to you about the index today?
Yeah, well, I think there was a news story or something that hit the FT around Meta kind of readjusting their AI segments and potentially laying some individuals off. And I think that's one of the reasons why we have the catalyst to the downside today. But it also kind of aligns with some of the compression that we've seen in the market. We've been trading in a very tight range since Tuesday or Wednesday of last week. And so any type of news could really kind of give you enough of a boost to the upside or a boost to the downside. If we talk about volatility, one thing that we did see as a setup on Friday as well as yesterday here is you saw kind of vol or the VVIX kind of inching higher as volatility or the VIX index actually moving lower, and that divergence doesn't last for too long, and we are starting to see that now coming back into an alignment where VVIX as well as volatility of the S&P 500 is moving higher. We do have the VIX expiration for those options tomorrow morning, so that is something to be mindful of. VIX options traded very heavily today as we see new positioning going into the September quarterly contracts, which also could create some fireworks, but as we get closer, we'll kind of talk about that. So from an index level, from the VIX level, it's still actually relatively low, but you are now starting to see volatility markets starting to ramp up a tad bit. You're also starting to see volatility in the bond market starting to ramp up as well. That was a chart that we actually posted yesterday and talked about yesterday that is also taking place. And the other thing that I'll just focus on going into the close is the advanced declining stocks compared to the S&P 500. You want to start seeing, once again, some of these stocks actually actually catching a little bit of a bid to really push up the S&P 500 as much as it possibly can. Now, obviously, it's being weighed down by mega cap tech names, but any type of help that you can get from the broader base of the market here is obviously going to be an advantage for the bulls. And that's one thing you have to say for today. Does the price action look that great? No, it doesn't. But if you look under the hood, we actually did see an expansion. Value outperformed high beta tech and growth stocks for today. It's a rotational trade. It's not everything selling out of this market. So I think this is just a technical pullback. Some structure has been broken for now, but we have some critical areas of support below us here that we could test and see if some buyers think that there might be some perceived value in the S&P 500 over the next couple of days, as we do have some pretty big economic events on the radar.
Yeah, certainly beyond the headlines, under the hood, as you say, we are seeing a rotation into value, home improvement up, hospitals, truckers. So yeah, some are catching a bid. Thanks so much for getting us across that and what you're watching in the S&P 500. About 22 minutes to go to the closing bell here.